Hi folks, and welcome to the Ace Tanker for the Type 59, the Tier 8 Premium Chinese Medium, at one time one of the hardest tanks in the game to get your hands on. But I was one of the lucky 37,138 Type 59 tank winners from the holiday gift boxes, and I finally managed to get my hands on one of the few tanks I thought I would never get. Now, while that number seems excessive, 37,138 seems incredibly excessive, and I will admit to seeing more Type 59s around in games, it's certainly, I'm not seeing them in the numbers that were supposedly won. So 37,138 Type 59s are now in existence across all the servers thanks to the holiday gifts. But yet, I'm not seeing anywhere near that numbers. 37,000 tanks sold. If it was for sale, that would be a good sale for a Tier 8 Premium for Wargaming. But, I just haven't seen the Type 59 in the numbers that Wargaming say were won. So I don't know what players are doing with their Type 59s, but they definitely don't seem to be playing them. But anyhow, in 1950, let's get into the history. In 1950, China and the Soviet Union signed a treaty to improve relations between the two nations. Now, this treaty is a mouthful. It was called the Sino-Soviet Treaty of Friendship, Alliance and Mutual Assistance. Now, part of this treaty or agreement was that the Soviet Union would help China set up manufacturing facilities with an aim to producing their own tanks, in particular a Chinese version of the T-54A. Now, the initial prototypes were built with Soviet assistance and used Soviet-supplied parts. And in 1956, under the name WZ-120, which was the project name, so WZ-120 is the Tier 9 in game, and as I covered during the WZ-120 Ace Tanker, the WZ-120 and the Type 59 are the same tank, just one is a project name and one is the production name, but essentially the first Type 59s were built in 1956, although they weren't called Type 59s at the time, and they were T-54As. That's essentially what they were. They were built using Soviet parts, but China wanted to become self-sufficient. They wanted to build their own tanks. So rather than relying on Russia for parts, they continued development of the Type 59 or the WZ-120 with Chinese-built parts. And in 1959, I believe it was, the Type 59 was accepted into service. Completely Chinese parts, all Chinese-built Chinese parts. It was accepted into service as the Type 59 in 1959. Now, even though it was a T-54A clone, it lacked the night vision capability of the T-54A. It also lacked gun stabilization, so it wasn't quite as good as the tank it was supposed to be equivalent to, but it was still good enough that over 10,000 of them would be built between 1959 and 1958, and that included upgraded variants. But about half the tanks that China built, or Type 59s that China built, were actually exported. They only used about half of them built, so huge export market for China. Now, a large number of Type 59s and Type 59 variants remain in service to this day. They're still in service, but mainly used in reserve. More upgraded versions of the tank are currently still in service as well. So further development of the Type 59 led to a lighter version of the tank that we have in game as the Type 62 Premium tank, or the WZ-121 as we have as a regular tank in game, and those two tanks are exactly the same tank. But essentially they're a lighter version of the Type 59 that were built for use in southern China, because the Type 59, as good as it was, as mass-produced as it was still quite a heavy tank, and the infrastructure in southern China just couldn't support the weight of a Type 59. So the Type 62 was developed to counter that. There was also a variant of the Type 59 known as the 121 medium tank, not the WZ-121, that's a different project. The 121 medium tank is a tank we actually do have in game at Tier 10. Now, that was a variant medium tank developed in 1963, but it never made it to mass production because the Type 59 became the Type 69, and that was favoured over the 121. So any 121s that were built, they were used as either target practice or in nuclear bomb testing. So that's essentially where we were, or are, until the late 1960s, because the relationship between the Soviet Union and China basically steadily deteriorated throughout the 1960s. And it resulted in a border conflict in 1969. The Chinese managed to capture a Soviet T-62 Now, on examining the captured tank, the Chinese realized that the Type 59 needed modernization, and that modernization occurred and led to the development of the Type 69. Not, again, not surprisingly, built in 1969. So the Type 69, which is a tank we don't have in game, is essentially a T-62. And then further development, China, relations with the Soviet Union were kind of very, very cold. They developed closer relationships with the West, and as a result of those closer relationships, the West supplied maybe technology to the Chinese, or the Chinese copied Western technology, and essentially the Chinese managed to get their hands on a British 105mm L7, and they basically upgraded the Type 59 to the Type 69, and the Type 69 to a tank called the Type 79, another tank we don't have in game, but that was basically a version of the Type 59 that came with a 105mm L7, mainly, again, built for export, but some of them were used by China. So essentially that's pretty much it. Now, I did go into the history in a lot more detail during the WZ-120 Ace Tanker, so go back, check that out if you want to know a little bit more about the history and the conflicts it was involved in, but essentially that's all I'm going to be covering on this particular video. So we are going to go now. The Type 59, even though it is a very, very rare tank and it's got this misconception that maybe it's overpowered, and a lot of people, I've seen some forum posts referring to this tank as it's not a tier 8, it's a tier 8 premium tank. It gets special matchmaking, but it's not really a tier 8, it's more like a tier 7.5 tank, and apparently the new matchmaking doesn't help this tank very much. I'm going to disagree with a lot of those theories. A lot of people are saying the Type 59 isn't as good as it used to be, and I would, that I do agree with, because there's been power creep in the game. The penetration isn't particularly good. You can see 181mm of penetration. Lots of tier 8 premium tanks have 181mm of penetration, so it's not bad, but it's not a tank that has suffered from power creep, I think, as much as people would have you believe, because it still meets the three major strengths of any good tank. What makes a good tank good are three areas. Is the Type 59 well armored? Yes, it is well armored. Especially for a tier 8 premium medium. Is it mobile? Does it have mobility? Does it have a decent top speed and a good power to weight ratio? Yes, it does. It may not be the best, but it's still pretty good. So it's got armor and it's got mobile, it's quite mobile. And then the final part of the trifecta is, does it have firepower? And that's probably the one little area the Type 59 falls down in compared to a lot of the other premium tanks. But I'm going to pop into Tanks GG. And in here, it's going to be very, very hard to show you exactly what I'm talking about, because there are 26 tier 8 premium medium tanks available for sale in the game at the moment, or at least were available, may not be for sale at the moment, but have been available at one time or another. So I'm not going to be comparing the Type 59 against 26 other premium tanks. So what I did was I dragged up the three other tier 8, premium or otherwise, the three other tier 8 Chinese tanks up here: T-34-2 regular tank in game, and the two premiums, the T-34-3 and the 59 Patton. And just for comparison's sake, I've included the two of the latest Russian medium tanks in here, T-54 Mod 1 and the T-54 or T-44-100, just to show you what I'm talking about, because while the Type 59 is not underpowered, as some people have said, they say it's been affected by power creep. I don't think it's been affected by power creep as much as maybe some other tanks, but there are some downsides. The firepower, straight away, you can see that the Type 59 is not the legend it's supposed to be when we look at the DPM. DPM is very, very poor compared to some of these, all of these other tanks up here. It's not terribly worse than the T-34-3, but that's got a completely different gun with different penetration and different alpha, so the DPM is not particularly good. The penetration, it's similar to the tank in game, the T-34-2, where the T-34-2 is more DPM, it's got a faster rate of fire and a faster reload. So it suffers compared to the DPM of the regular tank in-game. And it suffers a heck of a lot compared to the other premium tanks. So the penetration, while not bad, is not particularly good. The DPM is pretty bad compared to other tier 8 premiums, but it does get a decent amount of ammunition, but once again, not compared to some of the other premiums I've got up here. The shell velocity is okay at 900, so, you know, it's other than DPM, it basically looks okay. The gun looks okay, nothing spectacular. When it comes to gun handling, and again, there are positives and negatives compared to the other Chinese tanks. It's got better aim time, it's got similar accuracy to T-34-2 in game, and it's got decent accuracy while shooting on the move, while shooting while the tank is turning, or while a turret is turning. But when you compare it to some of the other more recent premiums like the 59 Patton, T-54 Mod 1 and T-54-100, they've got more penetration, they've got better accuracy, they've got better aim time, and the gun handling isn't that much worse. So the gun definitely seems to have suffered on the Type 59. The tank does get 20 degrees of gun elevation, which is okay, and 7 degrees of gun depression, which is workable. But again, not quite as good as some of the other tanks up here. So the gun is probably the weakest part of the Type 59, but it's not terrible. It really isn't terrible. When it comes to mobility, then we get to some positives finally. We get the fastest top speed of any of the tanks up here, faster even than the more recent Russian premium mediums. The reverse speed is similar to most of the other tanks, beats the T-54 Mod 1 slightly. The power to weight ratio is a little bit on the low side. Some of the other tanks have it well beaten, but it's better than the 59 Patton. So power to weight ratio is not terrible. Not particularly good, but it's not terrible. And the ground resistance seems to be about average. Some of the other tanks are better, some of them are worse. So ground resistance isn't terrible. Again, it's average, but it's got mobility. It's got the fastest top speed, and the power to weight ratio isn't terrible. When it comes to armor, then we do have strengths. In fact, the hull armor is probably the best of any of the armor up here, similar to the T-34-3 and the 59 Patton because it's the same hull. T-54 Mod 1 has it beaten because it's a T-54 hull, but it does beat some of the other tanks. Now, the hull armor isn't terrible. Once again, it's still quite good. And the turret armor is very, very similar to the T-34-3 and beats the other tanks up here some ways. Similar frontal armor to the T-54 Mod 1, but gets better side armor. Rear armor isn't quite as good. So you can see that the turret armor is probably a positive. You could say it's a positive on this particular tank, while the hull armor, again, looks okay. It looks quite good compared to some of the other hull armor. But again, nothing standing out here, nothing special. Hit points, again, very, very average, nothing special here. 1.3 seems to be the average hit points for Tier 8 Premium. And the view range, once again, exactly the same as most of the other tanks up here, only the 59 Patton has it beaten at 400 meters, so the view range isn't particularly good, but it's not bad. The radio range, or signal range, is a little bit on the low side, but it does beat the Patton. So really, what we're looking at here is a tank that people criticize as being definitely not as good as people say, because the mobility seems to be average, the armor seems to be good to average, and the gun seems to be a little bit below average, but it's got the trifecta. The gun is good enough, the mobility is good enough, and the armor is good enough. And when you get those three things together, I think you've got a nice little package in a tank. So to sum up, I quite like the Type 59, I actually do. I know that people were saying I wasn't missing out on anything, and yes, if I want to get the experience of playing the Type 59, I could always play the WZ-120 stock, but that's a Tier 9, and this is a Tier 8, and it gets special matchmaking, which means that most of the games you get into are either going to be Tier 8 or Tier 9 games, so not terrible. And as you can see, the mobility, not particularly good. It is a little bit sluggish, but I'm not using premium consumables. I could probably improve the mobility using premium consumables, but we're just going to move up, and this is a tank that really doesn't have the speed to get up the hill, but we do have the accuracy and gun handling to be able to get a shot on the move on the charioteer before he can back down. So we've started our account quite well. We've got heavy tanks moving up. There's 3 arty in play, so that's not going to be fun. I'm telling our friendly arty where enemy arty is, and I'm keeping an eye on the minimap because behind us a 416 has appeared now. Just need this guy to advance. He's got very, very poor side armor, trees falling down, so I know there's more than one enemy tank up here. None of the enemy teams seem to be pushing the hill, which means I can avoid the... I don't have to pay any attention to the front of me again, or to what's in front of me. I can just focus on this 416. Sorry, been a while since I've recorded a video. So yeah, we can do some work here. We did got a nice little bounce at a severe angle, and we're trying to stay hull down, trying to stay arty safe at the same time. And I don't need to worry about anything in front of me. Our team have comfortably won the hill, so in hindsight I probably could have gone hill, but I didn't know what enemy tanks were coming this way. So I figured I'm not going to be getting very many more shots down on the island. The Type 59 and Black Prince don't seem to be interested in advancing, so I'm going to go hill. Because I should be able to get up here without anyone spotting me, should be able to get up here without anyone shooting me. Looking back, no shots down here. I had a hint of a cupola, but I decided not to go for it because it's an encounter game. We need to basically put pressure on all of these heavies, enemy heavies coming up to cap. So our M445 goes down, I'm moving up, and I'm trying... Okay, nothing. This guy's behind houses, I'm not going to get any shots at the T29. But there's a Tiger 2 down here, I'm wondering if he's going to poke. And as I say, there are 3 RT in play, so this is quite... You know, as long as I hug the rocks, yes, I should be relatively safe from RT. Although our T28 heavy tank concept doesn't seem to realize that. So we can pop out, take out the Tiger 2, our heavy tank concept goes down. So it's an all tier 8 game on top tier, which is nice. It is nice in this tank, and as I say, because it gets special matchmaking, the chances of being top tier are probably a little bit higher than a regular tier 8 at the moment. But I decide, I actually don't know, as long as I've been playing World of Tanks, put another shot into the Tiger 2, as long as I've been playing World of Tanks, I'm not quite sure whether or not this roof is fully destructible. So essentially I want to get shots on this Type 59, so we blow away part of the roof, and I'm wondering, okay, can I blow off a little bit more of the roof? Can I destroy a little bit more of the roof and maybe get shots of that T29? In the meantime, I'm looking to see whether I can ambush someone down below me. So, nope. No, okay, so that part of the roof is indestructible. Lesson learned. I'm still learning after 40,000 games. I'm still learning in World of Tanks. I can still be a scrub. Oh, Tiger 2's poking. Is he going to give me his road wheel? Just a little bit more. Just poke a little bit more. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so there's kill number 1. And tanks below me. So enemy team are capping. I want to see if I can spot this T29. Now, I'm constantly spotted, and this is dangerous because, as I say, there are 3 RT in play, so need to push the wreck. Aiming for his cupola, down on it. Yeah, we can get a penetration, so no need for premium ammunition. We've got 181mm of penetration, and that should be more than enough to overmatch the cupola. We do have premium ammunition that gets us up to 241mm of penetration, but I don't need it in a situation like this. We can just put another shot into the cupola there. So cap is not under pressure anymore. I'm just looking down here. No one seems to be looking my way, and I'm just looking for shots, trying to use my 7 degrees of gun depression. You can see me getting a little bit frustrated here. I really want to dive on this M445, but too many tanks here. Okay, do I reverse, go forward? I am constantly spotted, so there are 3 RT. I'm just wondering, are they going to be aiming at me? So finally decide to move forward. And RT nails me. I just give a tiny fraction of my tank. RT nails me. IS-3 seems to be firing HE. So I lose the first health of this game. Not very much, thankfully, but crew is stunned. We did get a little bit of damage out of the M445, but yeah, okay, I know RT's aiming at me now. And okay, now it looks as if the heavy tanks below me are backing off. Okay, they're backing off. They're not aiming this way anymore. That IS-3 doesn't have shots. So that means that the T29 and AMX M445, we might be able to do, yeah, I'm constantly glancing at this IS-3. We might be able to snipe the cupola, be able to take out the M445. IS-3 came back. He's not looking this way. T29 not looking this way. Other than RT, oh, IS-3 is looking this way, but he's getting shot from the side, so he's going to have to turn his attention elsewhere. And that means that we can move down, maybe get some shots into this T29. Again, into the cupola. And don't need to fire any premium ammunition at all. So we're up to 2.3k damage, and unfortunately we hit the turret at a bad angle, bounce on that one, so let's go for a more careful shot this time. And we get another 230 damage. So alpha damage not particularly high, but it's average. The penetration not particularly high, it's average. About the rate of fire and DPM are the only things that really let you down. So our team are moving forward, get stunned again, lose pretty much a lot more health that time. So 200, 300 damage from RT that time, but yeah, okay, Lorraine goes down, there's only 2 RT left. In the meantime, again, looking at the mini-map, the charioteer decided he was going to flank. Haven't had an opportunity to use my armor too much here because most of the tanks have been firing HE at me. But we can move forward, we can be a little bit of a bully. RD's still focused on me, but we can move down. Charioteer, yeah, there we go, there's the hull armor. We can put a shot into the Charioteer, finish him off. Now, basically, okay, two T-30 or T-25-2s down here. They're platooned, but I'm not particularly scared of these guys. As long as I stay angled, we can deal with these guys. But one of them goes down to the WZ-111. There's a Tiger P around this corner. There's still 2 RT in play, but enemy tanks, you know, the enemy are running out of tanks. So now it's time to be a little bit more aggressive. We still got almost 700 hit points, so we can pause for a moment, get a shot at the Tiger P, drive down to the rocks down here to stay safe from the T-25 or what was it, T-25-2? Yep, okay, so just stay, pause, shoot, keep moving. Crusader SP appears. So we can get one shot in here, and look at the aim time. We can get one shot in, and let's finish this guy off. So look at the reload time. This is where the tank hurts, and that shot goes over. Okay, miss out on a kill there. Someone else takes him out, but T-25-2 around the corner. And again, I've got more than enough turret armor. I can bully this guy. He's only a tier 7. Yeah, he's only a tier 7. We can bully him, bounce again. So this is a tank where the mobility, not amazing, but it's good enough. The armor, again, not amazing compared to some of the recent additions into the game, but it's good enough. And the firepower, even though on paper it's not particularly good, it can still do a job, especially when it's top tier. And as I say, it's only ever going to face tier 9, so only one tank left on the enemy team. He goes down. I finish up with 5 kills and almost 5k damage. So first ace in the Type 59. So the Type 59, a tank I thought I would never get my hands on, but I did, and we managed to ace it, and yeah, finally another one bites the dust, another one to scratch off my to-do list. But picked up the ace, we picked up high caliber, and seems to have picked up quite a lot of credits. I can't remember earning that many credits, but finished up with the ace with almost 5k damage, 5 kills, and almost 1600 XP, so 1584. Not too bad. And as I say, I'm quite surprised I'm not seeing more Type 59s in games, because, as I say, over 37,000 of them were given out as prizes during the Christmas gift boxes. So really, really surprised I'm not seeing more of them. I'm seeing more than I did before Christmas, but since then, definitely not seeing them in the numbers I would expect to. But anyway, very, very happy with the result. Finished up with 25 shots fired, 22 hits. Quite a lot of those were fired on the move or before being fully aimed. So I do like the gun handling. I do like the gun handling on the tank, even though the penetration is not amazing. It seems to be average, and the DPM isn't particularly good. Rate of fire isn't particularly good. But decent damage, and the damage blocked by armor, as I say, very effective armor against lower tier tanks. Higher tier tanks, similar tier tanks with big guns might have no problems going through it, but like most Chinese tanks or like most Russian tanks, you're going to try and stay angled, going to try and stay hull down if you can. Use your gun depression, use your turret armor, and the turret armor on the Type 59 is very good. Spotted 3, damaged 10, destroyed 5, 665 assistance, 33 base, what was that, base cap points or defense points? 33 defense points. And then, oh yes, because we were shooting a T-29, I forgot. And then we finished up with a very, very healthy credit total. There may have been bonuses in here, but 202,000 credits earned. Yeah, there must have been a bonus in here, although it's not showing up. So, yeah, the ammo costs seem to be relatively cheap if you don't have to fire premium ammunition. The repair costs seem to be relatively cheap. It was the first win, or maybe it was the first game of the day, I can't remember, but it was a ×5, so the XP total was quite nice. But so anyway, that is the Type 59, a tank I didn't think I would be featuring on the channel as one of my replays, maybe one of your replays, but as I say, lucky enough to pick it up during the Christmas giveaway. Tonza had actually Facebook messaged me on the day 1 of the gift boxes, and he was saying that a lot of people he was watching on stream were getting Type 59s in their gift boxes and talking about it in comments. So he said, give it a go. So I did. I want to thank Tonza, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have spent any money on gift boxes at all. I've got better things to spend money on. But on the first day of the giveaway, I bought, I think it was 18 boxes. The Type 59 was in box number 7 or 8. And I was incredibly surprised to see it, and incredibly happy to see the Type 59. So if you are one of the lucky 37,128 players who managed to pick up a Type 59 over the holiday period, let me know in the comments. Or maybe you picked up some other tanks that you didn't have, like the Lorraine 40T, the Scorpion G. There were some good ones in here. The Patriot was for one of the gift tanks as well. Some very good gift tanks, but I think the Type 59 was the one everyone wanted. I would love to know how much Wargaming made from those gift boxes, and we might see the same thing next year. But next year I'm definitely giving it a miss, because I don't need a Type 59 anymore. I managed to get one. So as I say, tank I never ever thought I would feature on the channel as one of my replays. I always thought if I was going to feature the Type 59 it'd be one of yours, but it's here, it's done, it's dusted, and let me know in the comments how you got on over the holiday period. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.